Recording now.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Civic Bitch Slap. We are happy to bring you a new segment, which is called Circle Back Mondays. For any of you that have not been living under a rock since Jen Psaki has been the press secretary, you are not new to the phrase circle back.
Circle back.
Circle back with you.
Circle back.
So we started this segment as a way to collect all the news dumps that usually happen like Friday afternoon, Friday evening, and over the weekend, or like really anything important that may have happened recently. And we bring that to you on Mondays. We talk about that, give our opinions on those news articles. And to get started, we are going to play, Stacey's going to cue up. We have a great montage. You may have seen it, but this is like the inspiration to why we have Circle Back Mondays. While she's pulling that up, I do want to mention that if you have like a topic you want us to discuss, or you have comments or questions, please send us an email to thecivicbitchslap@protonmail.com. Again, that's thecivicbitchslap@protonmail.com. Also, Rumble is our preferred platform. So we encourage you to search the Civic Bitch Slap under channels. You will see there's two on there, but it should be the top one. It'll say it's what you can do. Please click follow. And then there's a little bell next to that. Click that. That's for notifications. It'll let you know anytime we upload a new video. And with that, Stacey is going to press play.
Be used at vaccination centers when they get stood up across the country. Does the White House support that request?
I did ask our team about this. You or someone else may have asked about this the other day. I think I have something on it here. One moment. Patients. Lots to say about COVID, no doubt about it.
So I can't find it.
Lots to say, but I have to find it. Now, everybody remember?
Talk to our team about it.
Oh my gosh, it's so cringe. She's so cringe. So that video right there is actually one where someone had like, they went to follow up with her on one of her, like, I'll have to circle back with you. I'll have to circle back with you. And she's still like, he's following up with her on a different day and she cannot find it. And then at the end, instead of saying, I'll have to circle back, she says, what did she say there at the end? She says, I'll have to reach out to them or follow up. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that didn't last long. She's back to circling back again.
She's back to circling back. That's right. She was trying to change her wording. And I know at one point she even said, you know, all of the conservatives on Twitter are going to be so upset, but I'm still going to have to circle back to you.
Yeah. Oh, and the way
funny, it's not just conservatives on Twitter.
No, and it's like she's not even missing. Yeah, or she's not even getting the point of why that's such, like, why people are making a big deal about it. Like, no, honey, no, bless your heart.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so the first article that we're gonna go over here is, and this is in the Epic Times. Stacey's getting ready to pull it up, but this is where a teachers union president, who I'm just going to assume based on reading the title of this, that they were very much anti-in-person school instruction, and then they are caught dropping off their child to in-person preschool. So this is more of like, you know, Gavin Newsom, let me eat at the laundry.
French laundry.
French laundry type.
But y'all can't have
rules for thee, not for me.
Families. Yeah.
Here we go. Oh, and it's in California. I don't know why originally I thought this was in a different state.
You know, it is the theme of those on the other side of the aisle, that rules are for the average American, the average person, the voter, the constituent, but they're not subject to these same rules. Not ever. I mean, it seems to be a common thread.
We're peasants, Stacey. It's rules for the peasants.
Yes, let them eat cake. So here you have California Teachers Union president seen dropping daughter off at in-person preschool after being like the leading advocate, really making sure that schools stay closed.
Of course.
Yeah, it's not.
I mean, you know, I was thinking about this today. You know, there's been this big, like, Biden you know, like, oh, we're going to have kids are going to be back in school within the first 100 days. And like, that's become a thing. And suddenly everyone's like for that. But yet just a couple of months ago, it's like when Trump was still around in office, no, we can't have, you're trying to kill people. You're murdering teachers.
Yeah, you don't care about
You don't care
Oh, hey,
about
remember even it
safety.
was the teachers in Florida who got caught on vacation
Oh yeah.
and at Disney World and at Biden rallies, and their attorneys said, that's okay. They went, so what that they went to a Biden rally? Now they can just go teach and die.
Yeah. Oh, they're just trying to follow the orders of their governor and support the economy. Something like that. I'm like, really? You cannot make this crap up from these people. It's totally insane. But you know, it's so interesting because like even with me, like even my sphere of friends, I don't know if you've seen it, like there are people that I know who are like adamant about school closures and not sending their kids to school. And then suddenly now Biden's president and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm so happy that like I saw a school bus went by my house today and I actually shed a tear. I kid you not. I kid you not. I'm not making this crap up. I'm like, people are a bunch of freaking hypocrites.
I think they're not really paying attention to how little sense they make. Honestly, everywhere.
Right.
Like if you're paying attention on the outside, it's clear as a bell. And again, this whole theme is they're kind of lunatics. They have two sets of rules, and right along the lines of they're kind of losing it is this drumbeat march to cancel everything. And that brings up our next headline in our next article, which is, thank God that the woke mob has saved us from what? You got it.
Green eggs and ham.
Dr. Seuss canceled and labeled a racist after branding contract expired with powerful teachers unions. Teachers unions, I don't think there's been any time in history when teachers unions have been laid bare about their actual priorities than the last 12 months. And they have been the best proponent for school choice across the country. But here you go. Here it is.
Oh yeah. You know what's crazy? So does this mean classrooms are no longer going to be celebrating his birthday? I mean, I thought that's like been a huge thing, at least in the American school system,
Yes,
for decades, to celebrate when Dr. Seuss's birthday and everything. So suddenly is that not going to happen anymore? You know, it's really interesting about this. I think this ties in actually to our previous episode is, it's fun for us to get on here, right? Where we're talking about all the crazy news and kind of our perspective on it. But I think we touched on briefly, and we're not going to delve into it right now, but using issues as tools, right? To discover who really your opposition is or who your support is. And I think a lot of, yes, we're talking about these articles and it's great to point out the hypocrisy. It's fun to poke, make fun of it and jab at it and everything. But at the end of the day, these showcase like where your strength can be, right?
right.
Like after you get done, having a good laugh at things or rolling your eyes or whatever, like let's use these blatant hypocrisies to our advantage.
Yeah, hold somebody accountable for this.
Yeah.
And, I mean, you can absolutely work with and ask the people that represent you locally for their position on this insanity. And I think if the Biden administration had like a mascot, it would be a shark jumping. Literally.
Oh my God.
Because it just seemed to jump the shark.
Is the shark jumping in circles back to itself?
Circling back. I think so. So, and in terms of how long will the Biden administration actually be the Biden administration, that sort of brings up our next news item. So let me get ready and share our.
Which this actually reminds me, while you're pulling this up, this article reminds me of back in, gosh, I might get this wrong. It might have been like September or October when Pelosi was drawing up articles of impeachment and everyone thought that it was for Trump. And there was articles where they were saying, no, it's for if Biden wins. Do you
Yes, it
remember
was.
that?
And she specifically said this isn't for Trump. This could be for a future president. And it
Yes.
wasn't really articles of impeachment. I think she was seeking clarity on the 25th Amendment.
That's what it was. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So
Yeah.
here you have, for those who are listening and not able to watch, the articles from the Daily Wire. And the title is Democrats Call on Biden to Relinquish Sole Authority Over Nuclear Strikes. And what's really interesting is that more than 30 Democratic representatives called for Biden to give up his sole authority to launch or to order the launch of nuclear weapons. So I think this also sort of flies in the face of the narrative that we are sometimes given that the Republican Party is a warring with itself faction and the Democrats have everything completely straight. I think they're probably in worse shape than we are right now.
Oh, yeah.
You look at where Nancy Pelosi's trying to keep all different factions of her own party in alignment. The only thing that they can be aligned over is their hatred for Trump and Trump supporters.
Well, I would say the hatred of the American people. Yeah. You know, what's interesting that ties everything in that you just said to me was Jack Posobiec at CPAC gave, I know he was part of a panel or gave a speech or having a discussion or whatever. And I like him. He's probably one of my favorite. I mean, he's on OAN. I love his tweet. I don't agree with him 100% on everything. But he did say some things at CPAC, which were very, very interesting. He mentioned, and this ties into you, like the left, they cannot move to the center. They can't. No. The way they're set up right now, they absolutely cannot. They have no wiggle room. But yet the right, there are certain things, and I know people cringe and they hate to hear this because I think a lot of conservatives, when you say move to the center or appeal to the center, you think Rhino,
Romney.
But that's not what we're talking about. I mean, we can take certain specific issues. For example, he brought up economics, the economy. I mean, think about it. Biden, there were all these memes and pictures. Biden bombed Syria before he gave $2,000 checks to people.
Oh, yeah.
People are hurting in their pocketbooks. Like the economy is something that you can definitely bring people to the right on. And I actually don't even know necessarily that it's moving to the center. I actually think there's a large percentage of America that is actually more right than they believe that they are.
It's so true. You know, I mean, I've worked with people of all different political stripes, and I have brought people who had identified as being Democrats over to a more conservative mindset. And the only thing I had to do in order to accomplish that was show them both party platforms. And they said, really, like I've believed everything that's, you know, so many of the things, maybe not even everything, but when I look at the Democrat platform versus a Republican platform, I'm a Republican. But this has to do with exactly what we're discussing. I mean, it's Circle Back Monday, and we're sort of poking fun of the press secretary, talking about issues that may not have been brought up so much. But moreover, we're discussing how the media manipulates the American people in a big way.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I jokingly, I texted to you yesterday after Trump gave his speech, maybe it was while he was giving his speech, there was one part where he jokingly said, I guess this makes me a politician because now he's been president. That's what he was getting at. And I text you, I'm like, oh, let's write the CNN headline for tomorrow. Trump claims he's a politician, no longer represents we the people. I mean, that's how completely twisted they are.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they are not sharing information whatsoever. They're sharing a narrative. And, you know, it is fun to make fun of them. And I think it seems like such an act of desperation. And you look at their ratings and who's watching them, like they're in the low double digits of people actually paying attention or having any credibility with the American people. Like, how long until they just fold? It's really ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. And I think this is actually a great segue into our next one that you're going to pull up.
Yeah.
Which is Tom McDonald. And he's been around for a while, and he's actually had some great songs even before Fake Woke dropped a few weeks back, but he just put out, was it on Friday?
It was on Friday morning at like 9 o'clock. Yeah.
Yeah, he dropped another. This will be the third one. So fake woke was kind of the big one. And then he had canceled, came out like a week or two after that, and now Clown World. And he actually did better. Clown World actually did better than both fake woke and canceled. He had 1 million views on
The
his
first
YouTube.
morning. The
Yeah,
first
within
2
12
hours.
hours.
Yeah.
In the hip hop, yeah, he reached number one. I think in number two in all genres. And yeah, this is just shows that people, and again, he doesn't have a label. He's completely independent. It's him and his girlfriend writing the music, the songs, putting together the videos. I mean, he builds his music video sets in his garage or backyard or whatever.
Yep.
Um,
The reason this is so consequential is that, we're talking about cancel culture and where we feel like we are losing this battle. This guy is proving to us that there is an appetite among the American population for a different message. He doesn't have a big machine to get his message out. And look, he's on top of Cardi B.
Yep.
Amazing.
Which, that literally just gave me like goosebumps. It's so true.
Yeah.
I mean, we can totally reject it. Reject the cancel culture. I've been saying this. They're going to end up stabbing themselves in the feet because or stabbing themselves in the foot. Did I say that right? Like, when you say something and you're like,
back. Wait, did they shoot themselves in the back? Is this
shoot themselves in the
joke? What?
Oh my gosh. I'm sorry, Stacey. I'm having a blonde moment.
It's all right. I can understand.
But you guys get what I'm saying. But I mean, this is not going to go over well. The American people, you think we're really just going to sit down and be canceled?
Yeah.
No.
Do you think, even people who really believed that Trump was some awful human being that they had been led to believe for 4 years are now watching as their children are not allowed to celebrate Dr. Seuss. These are the priorities of this group. Like who benefits from this? And earlier, Rachel and I were talking before we came online, and it sort of reminds me, I don't know if you guys have seen the pictures of in the 70s, maybe early 80s, of women in Afghanistan who were dressed in very much Western clothing going to university.
Yeah.
And the Taliban came in and removed basically any fun. There's no singing, women have to be completely covered, stoning, never the thought of them being able to go to university. And what's going on in American culture sort of reminds me of that, because anything that's fun, like any sort of comedy, cannot be tolerated anymore. Last night, my boys were watching Ace Ventura: Pet Detective, and there's a scene in there where Jim Carrey is pretending that he's got a mental disorder just to make his point. And I looked and I said, this would not be allowed today. And it's a great, like, what are we doing to ourselves?
Not only that scene in Ace Ventura, but then the girl who's a guy, and then he's like in the shower.
Oh yeah. Einhorn.
Like that whole thing, and him kissing, so who he thinks was a woman was a man. That would never stand today. People would be like, "Are you kidding me?"
Look at all that hate.
So much hate. Yeah.
Jim Carrey, ambassador of hate. Who knew?
It's actually interesting. I know that we're both fans of The Office. I've actually rewatched some Office episodes where I'm like, wow, if those were made today, I actually don't think they would get away with that. And it's not even the ones, like, I know there's a couple really funny episodes like about like race in the workplace and harassment. Not even those ones. They're usually like little things that they would say that I'm like, whoa, cannot believe. I mean, it doesn't bother me, but I'm like, how did that make it past the censors?
Oh yeah, because we actually wanted to have fun and not make a big deal of everything. Not too long ago.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. So, all right, I have our next news item to share. Chalk this right up with hypocrisy, two sets of rules, yada, yada, yada. Yep. Everybody who doesn't live under a rock knows that there were airstrikes in Syria last week.
Yes.
And, when Trump conducted some similar activities. Everybody called him a dictator. He was just the worst human being on the planet. And don't you love that tweets are kind of forever? So,
Oh yeah, these did not age well.
yeah. So here it is, Jen Psaki, and you'll see this is in April 6, 2017. And for those listening, I'll read it. Also, she says, also, what is the legal authority for strikes? Assad is a brutal dictator, but Syria is a sovereign country.
You know what's interesting about this too? Not only is this aging bad for the actual strikes, but word on the street is that they're actually trying to put Assad back into power, the Assad regime under Biden.
Yeah, there's nothing that would surprise me about that. Yeah.
And when I say word on the street, I mean like people who sources that are giving information. That's
well, one brutal dictator knows another.
Yeah, it's just it's interesting because Republicans have been painted for a long time as we're
hawkish.
We're big warmongers. We just want to support the war economy, and it's all about contracts, military contracts, and this and that. And it's like, I think Trump really he did great at not intervening and starting and putting us places where we don't need to be.
He did. It was really great. And I think being a family of a veteran, my daughter is also active duty Army, and both Rachel and I are married to veterans. You get a sense of the cost of war, a real firsthand sense of what goes on. And I feel like Trump made such a great effort to humanize the American soldier as a person, a family member, a husband, a wife, as if they could have potentially been children of his own, and elected to send them into conflict or not based on that love, really.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And sorry, I mean, there's not really a good segue, but I'm staring at Joe Biden's tweet that you have on the screen. I'm like,
okay. So here we are. We're going to read this to people who are listening and unable to watch us. Joe Biden's crazy tweet. Trump's
from 2019.
Yeah, from 2019. Trump's erratic, impulsive actions are the last thing we need as commander in chief. No president should order a military strike without fully understanding the consequences. We don't need another war in the Middle East, but Trump's actions toward Iran only make that more likely. It's like in Twilight Zone, because Trump's presidency was marked with more peace in the Middle East than anything in my lifetime at all.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Peace, Eastern Europe. I mean, there's a lot of places where he marked peace in addition to the Middle East. I feel like that's a huge legacy for Trump. He didn't, start any new wars. He tried to bring our people home.
Yeah.
He worked towards, you have Jerusalem being where the embassy was moved to, and everyone said you couldn't do that. There's going to be no peace in the Middle East without Palestine. Yet,
yeah, that was John Kerry's huge assertion, and he was adamant. Never, ever, ever will there be peace in the Middle East without Palestine being a player at the table. And Trump proved him wrong, which is almost like, is that the reason for this tweet?
Yeah. Well, what's interesting about this tweet too to me is that no president should order a military strike without fully understanding the consequences. And I'm like, I don't think Biden fully understands anything. I mean, the man is corrupt as hell. I wish he wasn't our president, but if this is an elderly abuse, I don't know what it is. I mean, you can't watch him any day of the week. He doesn't understand a damn thing that's going on.
Over the weekend, I think when he was in Texas, he said, "Where am I anyway?" And everybody keeps playing that over and over and over again.
I know. And it's crazy. I have people that I know that are like, oh, he has a stutter. They're still on that thing. He has a stutter. And when you make fun of his stutter, it says more about you than it does him. I'm like, if you think that this is behavior because of a stutter, wow, I can't help you. No, the
People
man
believing
is
what they
senile.
have to. So
Yeah.
I'm going to
Anyway.
show a couple of the other tweets that are in this article, which we'll link all these articles in our show notes. But this just shows how detached from reality people are, that it doesn't matter what is happening, it matters who is making the decisions for something to happen. So this David French,
Oh
who,
gosh.
is an insane never Trumper, quote unquote, Republican, right?
Oh yeah.
Says, if Trump strikes Syria without congressional approval, his Syrian policy will be both imprudent and unconstitutional. And then when you fast forward to last week, David French tweets something altogether different. Regarding Biden's Syrian airstrikes, he says, good, targeting our troops should carry a consequence. But I find it really interesting. Weren't the Iranians responsible for targeting our troops? Or were there Syrians in Iran? Is that what? I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, you have a whole, I can't even keep track anymore. There's Turkey and then Russia, but then Iran, and it's
Yeah.
But the point is, that man, those two tweets are only two of some of the things I've seen him tweet. French, oh my gosh, like, can we just throw him in the pit with like Mitt Romney?
Oh my gosh, isn't
And
that?
I don't mean like literally throwing him in a pit like for violence. I just mean like putting him in the same group as Romney Republicans. He's atrocious.
Yes, he's absolutely atrocious. So I'm having a hard time finding this article right now. It's all of a sudden not around anymore, but it's very important and it speaks to exactly what we are saying with what are the priorities of the Democrat Party? Truly.
Not America first.
Yeah, what's important to them? Okay, I think I have this here. And the people who were convinced that Trump was such a horrible man and so bad for our country, I'd really be interested in hearing their buyer's remorse and what they think about the priorities of the current administration as displayed in the actions they take. Not necessarily what they're saying,
Right.
unity, but you can tell what really matters to them because of what they do. So I'm having to share this somewhere else. So bear with me here.
No problem. And while you're finding that, I will say recently, I mean, within the past, I would say 5 days, I have had a couple of friends who are very liberal share things like, one was, Biden made a speech about, COVID when it hit like the 500,000 deaths mark. And they were like, oh, we don't need speeches. We don't need platitudes. Like, we need actual, like real action, which if you remember, he was going to solve COVID. And then another
before
friend,
curing cancer.
Yeah. And then I had another friend who basically just like posting their disappointment in the fact that a bunch of campaign promises have already been broken. We're only 1 month in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Total buyer's remorse. But remember, Orange Man bad, and he's not tweeting anymore.
Well,
so
I think it was really easy for people to be manipulated. And part of it is because the American worker really had a true partner in Trump like we've never seen before. And I think so many people thought, oh, it's just going to continue to be like that, but Biden's going to be nicer. And immediately he undid so much of what really mattered to the American worker and the American families. It's despicable. Yeah.
I think a good, something maybe for us to touch, even for our listeners in the future, is kind of even your and our personal journeys on our support for Trump, because it wasn't always, I wasn't always on the Trump train.
No.
And I think that would be interesting for people to hear kind of our perspectives and what it was that kind of put us on that train.
Yeah.
And even, I mean, if I'm being honest, I think I was even manipulated a little bit by media at times.
Yeah.
So,
well,
anyway.
Yeah, it's definitely something that it would be good to discuss that later. How do you come to be a Trump supporter? How do you come to believe in it? And over the weekend at CPAC, of course, they discussed Trumpism, and he's the one that discussed it and what it actually means. And it's all, it's a pro-America agenda.
Yep.
And it's a shame that that is now somehow bad.
Yes, which it ties into their theme was America Uncanceled.
Yep.
And I mean, that couldn't be more specific and direct than that, because literally all these things that we're seeing with cancel culture, it's like Trump saying, they don't hate me, they hate you. I'm just in the way. That's the same thing. All these little, you're seeing these individual things or people or companies or whatever be canceled. It's not about those individual things. It's literally about canceling our entire culture, our way of life, everything about America. It's literally about canceling America.
Yep, it is. So now we're going to go over this article that I have up and I've been sharing. And of course, anybody who's paying attention or has children or knows people who have children has heard of the hardships of the American youth over the last year trying to figure out what to do with in-class instruction.
Yep.
You've had kids who have really suffered. There are children who no school district has seen or heard from since the pandemic shut down. And, the abuse going on, the stunted development, children who are behind academically who will never catch up.
The mental health that they're going to need. I mean, that is just insane.
The cruelty to the American child is unimaginable. So what goes on in the Biden administration? They go from the conditions where they had kids in cages, as they called it, under President Trump, which was actually, any of us who watch the news know that that was a policy that started under Obama. And, I think there was that continuation of it. And then they stopped because they're not going to accept any of these people at the border. Stop making it an attractive way to bring people to the United States because it's so costly to the lives of these children. So immediately, and with a lot of pride, Biden unravels that policy that Trump put into place. And they begin to have children at the border. And, I have to give AOC credit for her consistency, because she's calling out Biden for what he's doing at the border the same way she called out Trump. And I can disagree with her on a great many things, but I do like that she's not being silent on what she sees is a miscarriage of the treatment of these kids. So the long of it is that according to I'm pointing on this article, the ORR, which stands for Office of Refugee Resettlement, the education services that will be provided in a classroom setting to these children. So while American children go without any in-classroom instruction, these illegal immigrants get these. Let me list them for you. Classroom education, healthcare, socialization and recreation, vocational training, mental health services, family reunification, access to legal services, and case management, all of which has been denied to our very own children. All of it.
And not only that, we're paying for this.
We're paying
literally
for it. Yes.
Yep. We are literally paying. And I actually saw today that Biden is strongly supporting an effort to reunite families that were separated or like partially deported under Trump in the United States. So now he wants to bring separated families. I'm like, how is that going to work? How does that work? You're going to like do an ancestry search in these other, tell them to phone up their family and wherever they are and
phone a friend.
Are we going to pay for them to fly? Are we sending flight? It's asinine. And again, all of that will happen at our expense. And while American children don't get any of this.
Yeah. It just really goes to the priorities of this administration. And really, I would say to the priorities of the entire Democrat Party. I mean, this is who they wanted. This is who they rally behind. This is the kind of policymaking that they're in full support of. I don't know how you can go back to your district under the conditions that this country has suffered for the last year and say that you are for this.
Yeah, I don't know a single person who has children, no matter how healthy and stable they are. You know what I mean? I don't care what, it has affected every single child.
Family. Yeah, every family,
Yeah.
every child in this country has
Yep.
has suffered because of this.
Yeah, people should absolutely be outraged. I mean, if you're not outraged enough at the fact that Biden is using literally the same cages and facilities that Trump was excoriated for, and they're trying to say, oh, but we have to do it because of COVID protocols. We don't have space in the other facilities. We have to open these ones, the very same ones that like Harris herself protested at. If that isn't enough to light you on fire, the fact that they are literally giving these services at your expense that your own child does not get. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, it's not only that they don't get them, parents across the country are rallying and trying to get school boards to open up schools, and they're being told no. I really feel like they're overplaying their hand in a lot of what we see going on today.
Oh yeah. A lot of people I think have realized, yeah, I need to look for other options other than traditional public school. It's not going to work for me anymore.
Yeah. Yep. So,
Yep.
And that's the last article I have to share for this week's episode.
So stick around. We're going to be doing Circle Back Monday.
Every week. And next Monday. And in the meantime, if you have any questions or ideas for shows that you'd like us to cover, please email us at thecivicbitchslap@protonmail.com. You can follow us on Rumble, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, all of which will be in our show notes. So thank you so much for listening and watching, and we will see you probably later this week.
That's right. Bye.
Bye.